So good evening, everyone. I am Engineer Mustali Shahid, Chairman of IT and Computer Engineering Section Committee. Thank you for being here with us today. On behalf of IT and Computer Engineering Section Committee, I am pleased to welcome all of you today for the session on blockchain for a better tomorrow. So without taking your time, I would like to introduce our speakers today for the session. Mr. Surendra Surya Kumar. He is a techno-optimist and a certified SEP and blockchain architect who specialized in implementing the large-scale ERP project across the medium to large-size businesses. He has implemented integrated solutions for finance and supply chain management in a variety of industries, including fast-moving consumer goods, food and beverage, apparel, footwear, and retail. For many business and universities, he has led blockchain training session. So thank you, Mr. Surendra Kumar, for joining the session. And our second speaker is Ms. Tama Mayo. She is the head of Community C and APEC region. So Algorand Foundation. He is passionate about assisting emerging tech leaders in realizing the potential of cutting-edge technologies like blockchain and encouraging them to join Algorand community to advance their knowledge of the technology and create cutting-edge future for blockchain solution. So please drop your question in the chat box and we will be answering that soon as possible or at the end of the lecture. So once again, thank you very much and let's start our session. So Mr. Surendra Kumar, over to you.
Thank you, Engineer Shahid. Appreciate the warm welcome and introduction. Hi, Sama. Good to see you online as well. It's been a while, so looking forward to delivering this. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, we can see.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's get started. So thank you for inviting us to do this session on blockchain for a better tomorrow for all the students and staff at the Institution of Engineers in Sri Lanka. So in today's session, before we get into it, there will be a few items that we talk about. There will be a few logos that we show of enterprises. This is just a legal disclaimer. As what Engineer Shahid said, I am actually a SAP and blockchain architect, work for a company called SynergyX. It is a company founded in Sri Lanka, and we do have operations in Melbourne as well. We have a few clients who we are talking to. So that is an SAP and blockchain consulting company. This is just some information about my experience. As I mentioned, blockchain architect and finance consultant as well, and those are some of my clients. Let's get into the session objectives for today. I will be taking you through the, give you an introduction to blockchain. I'll talk about blockchain characteristics. We'll talk about blockchain for good. We'll talk about some use cases. I will show you that. We'll also discuss a few global blockchain projects, what's going on in the space with large enterprises and how they are looking to get on with blockchain and the different projects that they're working on. We will touch base a bit on the future of enterprise blockchain and where this is all headed. And after that, I will pass it on to Sama Mayo, who's the head of community for Algorand, and she will talk about what Algorand blockchain is doing in this space. A lot of interesting things as well. So that will be a good insight into what they are looking to do in the blockchain space for good. And also, I will give you some tips on how to get involved and get started for those who are keen to explore this emerging tech, and how to keep up to date as well. More tips on next steps on how to keep up to date. So that's the session objective for today. And like what Engineer Shahid said, if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. We will look at that once we have finished our slides. And if you have any further questions at that point of time, you can unmute and ask those questions too. Okay, all right, let's get into it. I'll take the video off to save a bit on bandwidth. So let's start with looking at the industrial revolution that we have been through. This is something that I generally cover on most of my sessions, just to show the pace of change that's taking place. As you can see here, the first industrial revolution was into mechanization, water power, steam power, which was back in the 1800s. Then we moved into the second industrial revolution, which was into mass production. As you can see, mass production went into assembly lines, electricity, and so on in the 1900s. Then came computer and automation, and that was the digital revolution, which happened closer to 2000. And just after that, as you can see, the pace of change is really beginning to pick up steam. The fourth industrial revolution, as experts put it, is already into cyber physical systems. Now, this is where we today have large scale manufacturing sites where there's not a single person who's actually in charge of machines. There's just robots doing everything from packaging to moving goods onto conveyor belts and then into trucks to move stuff. There is a joke in this space that in the future, manufacturing sites will have just two individuals. One is going to be a man and another one is going to be the dog. The man is there to feed the dog and the dog is there to not let the man touch any machines. That's the joke that's going around in terms of industrial revolution. We are likely to get there because we already have a lot of manufacturing sites that operate in such a way. This is a video that I'm going to show you, which is a good introduction to what blockchain is. Let's have a look at this.
For a long time, we've been living in a centralized world. Only centralized agent and institutions held all important data and confirmed all transactions. But those times are over. Welcome to blockchain, a true game changer. So what is blockchain? It's a decentralized database with an immutable timestamp record of data distributed and managed by a cluster of computers. So it's open for everyone to see. In other words, an absolutely decentralized system with no middleman. This means more power to the people, and it will revolutionize everything. For example, it can show where charity donations are spent. It will allow artists to sell art directly to fans. It can even make the world more democratic by making voting easier and more transparent. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, with that, the possibilities are endless with an emerging technology like blockchain. Very rarely do you see or come across technologies that actually can revolutionize a lot of different industries. We are living in a period where we are seeing the boom of such a technology. Many people talk about blockchain being just a buzzword, but blockchain is actually now becoming more than just a buzzword. It is being used by enterprises. There are a lot of experiments being done on it, but there are a lot of enterprise solutions being built on it as well. This is the official definition, if you like, of what blockchain is. So it is basically a technology where digital information is distributed in and stored in decentralized ledgers. That's all you got to think of when you talk about blockchain. It's information that's distributed in decentralized ledgers, which means that anything on the blockchain, everybody who are involved in the blockchain already have a copy of what happened on the blockchain. And when everyone has a copy of what happened on the blockchain, it's hard to cheat on the blockchain. It's hard to manipulate data on the blockchain. And that is where blockchain really serves a lot of purpose. We will get more into that as we keep moving along. So as I mentioned, it's no longer just a buzzword. This technology is being used to disrupt industries, and we are likely to see that happen in the next 5 to 10 years. So if someone asks you what is the key problem that blockchain solves, it's just one simple word. It's trust. So blockchain solves the problem of manipulation, right? So that is what blockchain solves. And if you really look at everything that's going on in the world right now on the internet, whenever you're online, you're always dealing with systems and solutions and even enterprise logins and everything, because there is a centralized person behind it, and you need that centralized person behind it because you trust that your data is safe with them, or whatever you're doing online is safe with them. But blockchain is a technology that's completely distributed, and there's inbuilt security protocols built into it that it actually creates a trustless environment. So that's a very important thing to remember when it comes to blockchain. And this is probably one of the most important slides that you will see in today's presentation. A key thing to note here is, if someone asks you, is Facebook the internet? You will probably say no, because you know that Facebook is just one application on the internet. The same way, you need to keep in mind that cryptocurrencies is not blockchain. A lot of people get this mixed up. They think Bitcoin is blockchain. Bitcoin is not blockchain. Bitcoin is an application that is run on blockchain, right? So that is how you got to look at it. Blockchain is the underlying technology that makes it all possible. Let's look at 4 key characteristics of blockchain. So the first one is transparency. One key thing that happens on the blockchain is that it is transparent to everybody. So everyone who is on the blockchain and has access to the nodes will understand or be able to make identify what's happening on the blockchain, who owes what to whom. All that information you can actually get out in the blockchain because it's transparent. Then you have it. Decentralization is the next key characteristic. And as I mentioned, with blockchain, the data is distributed. So it's actually stored in decentralized ledgers. The next one is immutable. Immutable, the meaning of immutable is that you cannot just go in and change something on the blockchain that you have already done. You cannot go and edit it. So blockchain does not have the option of editing or deleting. It only has the option of appending. So if you do a transaction in the blockchain, that stays on the blockchain. Everyone has a record of it. And that is the immutability that's built into the blockchain technology. And then you have the 4th characteristic, which is still to be hacked, I would say, because you would have security as one thing that still people have doubts on. But to this day, if you really look at the Bitcoin blockchain that it operates on, I'm sure people have tried so many times to try and hack it, but it's still secure because a lot of people have contributed to that blockchain by just doing Bitcoin transactions, that the blockchain has become quite big. And it's actually withstood many hacking attempts as well. So in that way, we can say that blockchain is quite secure, at least up to this point of time, it has proven to be so. And therefore, that goes in as one of the key characteristics of blockchain. Some of the main types of blockchains that you would come across, there's the public blockchain. So the public blockchain is basically any blockchain that's available on the internet for anyone to access, right? And these are called permissionless blockchain. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, these cryptocurrencies sit on such a blockchain, which means that tomorrow, if you wanted to, if you have 200 to 300 GB space in your laptop or computer, desktop, you could just download the entire Bitcoin blockchain onto your laptop or desktop and make that a node. So your node will also start validating transactions that take place. That's the public blockchain. And then you have the private blockchain. So many enterprises have realized that though blockchain is trustless environment, they want to be able to use it internally for their purposes as well. And in order to do it in such a way, there is an option where you can have permission blockchain, and that is where the term private blockchain comes in. So these are some examples of having a permission blockchain. Ripple, Hyperledger are classic examples of permissioned blockchain. And then you have the consortium blockchain. The consortium blockchain is where you have group of approved entities and individuals getting together to try out something, either for a particular business domain, or it could be a technology. So that's where consortium blockchain comes in. So these 3 are the 3 main types of blockchain. There are other ones as well. They are called hybrid blockchains, and that's an option. That's a particular blockchain where there is a mix of private and consortium blockchains working, or even public blockchains to some extent. So let's get into the topic today, is blockchain for good, right? So the following slides will give you an indication of some of the use cases where blockchain can be used to create a better tomorrow. One of the key scenarios for blockchain is identity, right? So right now, what happens around the globe is, people use your identity and they try to do different things, from registering a motor vehicle to issuing a fake passport, to issuing fake driving licenses. All of that is done because there's no real hard check on the identity of a person online, right? So one of the key things that blockchain helps to solve is giving everyone an identity that is actually put on the blockchain, that is immutable, that is secure, and that is transparent. So in the future, there could be situations where we actually have maybe passports that are being verified on the blockchain. And when we have such options available, it means that no one can actually just fake or counterfeit a passport, because that information is available on the blockchain, and that will be easily called out. So some of the examples of having a classic case of self-sovereign identity is it helps with security, as I mentioned. It helps with user controls, and you can also have an option where you give the consent for your identity to be used somewhere, right? You can also be persistent, resilient to censorship. So those are all different aspects of having a centralized identity that is powered by blockchain. One example that I would give here is, imagine today if you had an option where if you change houses or you move from one country to another, basically if you have different addresses that you need to maintain, in today's environment, you would call all your banks, you would call your insurance companies, you would call the motor vehicle registration, you would call any of your gyms, all of that. But in the future, if you had just one portal where you can log in, and in that portal, you would enter, this is my new address. The moment you click on submit, everywhere that your identity is already associated with gets an update of the new address. So it's just one portal that you update. That is the power of blockchain. And that is what Web3 and those Web3 wallets, where it's a unique identity, is looking to solve. There are many different companies working on such use cases. So it's only about time before they start bringing those use case solutions to the masses. And we'll have to wait and see how it takes place. But there are definitely a lot of companies working on it. So that's one use case. The other one that you will hear a lot of people talk about blockchain is it cuts out the middleman. You look at any transaction in today's world, there is always a middleman. Whether if you wanted to send money to a relation in another country, whenever you send money from your bank to another bank, there is always an intermediary bank, or there's someone else in between the transaction, just between you and your relations, because there is a bank involved, right? But in the future with the blockchain, if everyone on the blockchain have their own self-sovereign identity maintained there, have their own, their wallets maintained there, the transaction is between your wallet, which in blockchain terms is basically a bank account online, and a bank account or a wallet of the other person online. So you are essentially cutting out the middleman, which would probably be your bank or your trusted middleman right now. But as I told you, blockchain is a trustless environment. It looks to create that. And one of the examples that we can give today is the Ethereum blockchain has something called smart contracts. So smart contracts is actually a coding. It's a code that sits in the blockchain of Ethereum, of Ether actually. And what happens is that smart contract executes based on relevant conditions being met. Right. So once those conditions are met, so if you wanted to send $10 to someone in another country, the moment you're on the blockchain, it will know that, let's say you start off with $20, it will know that you have $10, therefore you can transfer $10. Let's say you have $20. So when you try and execute the transaction, the system will know that you have $20. So obviously you can transfer $10 to the other person. But if you try to transfer $50, the system will immediately reject it by saying that you have only $20. You cannot transfer $50. So that's just a very basic example of a smart contract. Obviously, there is a lot more that is being done in the insurance space, in the shipping space, and so many other decentralized finance domains are beginning to use it. I mean, it actually triggers a lot of the transactions across many finance domains. The other blockchain for good use case is actually eliminating fake drug. There are companies right now in US where they have their pharmaceutical products. When they move through the supply chain, every action is recorded. So from the initial manufacturing of the drug to the final, final usage by the patients, it is being tracked along the supply chain. And as you know, in certain countries, in certain regions, there are a lot of challenges around drugs because there are people who actually repackage drugs that have expired, which is quite dangerous for the end user. So in cases like that, by having them on the blockchain and being able to track them throughout the supply chain, when it gets to the final user, if it has been verified on the blockchain, the user can do a quick check, just simply maybe by scanning a QR code. And if that shows that that information of that particular drug has expired a long time back on the blockchain, you know that it's a fake drug, right? Or it's a repackaged drug. So that's another example when it comes to using blockchain for a better tomorrow. And in relation to the medical industry itself, blockchain in healthcare is doing quite a lot as well. There are many companies that are working on this particular domain. And if you look at how Microsoft's involvement in blockchain, you will see that as a large company, they do get involved in helping out smaller startups who are working in the healthcare space. So that is something I would highly recommend that you guys read on. So you can definitely go online and search for tech startups that are working in the blockchain for healthcare space. So that is highly recommended. If you need more information on that, you can also visit the Discord channel, which I'll share with you a little later. Another useful instance where blockchain is being used is for food tracing. So food tracing is where, as the food moves through across the entire supply chain, either from the farmer to the final consumer, it is possible to have it on the blockchain and analyze exactly how it's reaching the final consumer through the food supply chain. A very well-known use case or a product that's come out is IBM Food Trust. So I would highly recommend that you read upon that as well. So that is an option. So we know exactly where it's sourced from, if it's an ethical product, if it has been created the ethical way, all of that will really help with the IBM Food Trust. So that is an example there. Next one that is very close to my heart is the corruption. So corruption is exposed. There are many use cases around this area itself, which is the corruption domain. And blockchain has two distinctive features that make it a potent tool. First, it actually provides an unprecedented level of security, which is something we discussed previously. And most importantly, it has the integrity of records that it manages, guaranteeing their authenticity, which means that any information on the blockchain can be guaranteed that this has been entered by that relevant person, it's being used for this particular purpose, and so on. So even if you look at some studies that have come out by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is the OECD, they reported that currently 20 to 25% is lost to corruption globally at government levels. And they also say that 57% of foreign bribery cases have occurred due to obtaining like public procurement contracts, where you get contract to build something, and there's like, they say of that 57% is actually due to bribery. So if it's all on the blockchain, it can be tracked. There are many use cases right now. There are companies in African countries that are actually building land registry on the blockchain. So when you say land registry, your housing title, if you buy a house, that title is going to be on the blockchain. So it is clear that you are the owner of that particular house and you have the title in your name. No one can claim that land as theirs later on, because when you registered it, it was put on the blockchain and that lives on the blockchain forever, right? And it is validated by the person who gave you that house or that title, right? So all of that is use cases for or against corruption, and that's how blockchain could help to solve that issue. Another thing is where it actually deters cybercrime. So as I mentioned, blockchain is a distributed ledger technology. It's focused on creating trust, and just because of the way it is built, where everyone have a copy of it and everyone know what's going on, it's transparent, it's immutable, it's decentralized and secure, it deters cybercrime. Though all of this has been mentioned, you will have come across many different news articles where they have told this particular blockchain has been hacked or this exchange has been hacked. The reason for that is because there is always an option where people have put up a particular type of smart contract or an algorithm, and that is what has been hacked. The blockchain technology itself has not been hacked, but what they have built or the code that they have put on there has had a vulnerability which has been exposed. And there are always these hackers who are in there trying to find out what these vulnerabilities are and try to hack the system, right? So it does deter cybercrime. I wouldn't say it completely stops cybercrime, because there's always a risk that the wrong smart contract or a code has been put on the blockchain. But the blockchain technology itself, it is quite hard to hack, because as data grows, it only becomes stronger. And then the last one is for the unbanked. So where this actually gives opportunity for everyone to have some sort of a wallet online. So it is estimated that currently we have close to 1.7 billion people who don't have a bank account at all. So it's like 1.7 billion people who have no way to take their money, put it into a bank account, understand what savings are, understand what investments are, understanding what they can probably do with a bank account, right? So if we help them get on board with that, it changes their life. They start to understand, okay, this is how money works, this is how we can save, and things like that. So those kinds of things are actually being addressed by certain frictionless solutions like decentralized finance solutions. Decentralized finance is a new term that's coming up in the blockchain space, focused on finance that is driven by the features that are available on the blockchain, right? So that's something to keep in mind as well. Those were some of the key blockchain for good use cases. There are more, which we will share on the Discord channel. So this is the QR code that I was referring to. You can always scan that. That'll take you to the Discord channel. This slide, I'm just going to quickly talk about some of the larger enterprises that are working in the blockchain space, just to give you an idea that it is no longer a buzzword. You can see that the likes of Apple, Google, Walmart, all of them are doing building solutions on the blockchain, right? This is an example of a video there on YouTube, which actually talks about 19 industries that blockchain can disrupt. I'm not going to play it here, but this is available on the Discord channel as well. And YouTube is a great resource to go into to look at these kinds of videos on blockchain, what it disrupts, corruption in blockchain. There are some really good channels on YouTube that will help you get a better idea of what blockchain is as well. I will share that with you at the end. So let's just look at the future of blockchain. If you look at the blockchain curve right now, blockchain is at the very beginning. We are just at the start. So just for all of you who are on the call today, you would probably be among less than 0.01% of the people who are aware of what blockchain is and what they are doing in this space and how blockchain can be used for the better. You are now among that crowd, because we are just getting started. That's why the ones who are doing things in this space are all early innovators and early adopters. So over 5-10 years, we might see blockchain being used for a lot of things. And just like how today we open up Facebook, we put a post, we tag a few friends, and we close Facebook. You don't know that you have actually used machine learning, artificial intelligence, big data, all of that when you did those transactions. That's how seamless blockchain solutions are going to be in the future as well. And that is be the real success of blockchain, when you know that you haven't even used blockchain, but you're reaping the rewards of blockchain. So that is where we are now, and what experts feel that we will be in 5 years. In 2015 is where things really picked up in terms of exploration and investments. 2016 to 19, we saw early adoption. 2021 to 26, many experts are saying that we are going to go through a growth phase. And as you can see, there are a lot of blockchain companies coming up, a lot of people working on use cases. And in 27 is where we believe that blockchain will be mature technology that will be an integral part of any system that we touch or we use. That is the bull case. So with that, I will like to invite Sama, who is actually the head of community for Algorand blockchain, and she will take you through what Algorand are doing in this place. Over to you,
Thank
Sama.
you. Thank you, Darren.
Sure.
If you can move to the next slide. So thank you. So hi everyone, I'm Summer. I'm the community lead at the Algorand Foundation. It's actually a great pleasure to have this chance to talk about Algorand as the world's leading blockchain platform and to share how it is leveraged for blockchain business use cases and for a better future. Next slide, please. So let's start from the very beginning of Algorand. In 2017, Professor Silvio Micali founded Algorand, and it is to be a fully decentralized, secure, and scalable blockchain, which provides a common platform for building products and services for a borderless economy. A little background of Silvio. So he has been on the faculty at MIT in electrical engineering and computer science department since 1983. It's worth mentioning that Silvio is the co-inventor of probabilistic encryption, zero-knowledge proofs, and verifiable random functions, and many of the protocols that are the foundation of modern cryptography. Also, Silvio is famous as the Turing Award winner, which you may know is equivalent of Nobel Prize in computer science. So Algorand was formed when Silvio realized that the great opportunity to fulfill the promise of blockchain in our global society. And led by Silvio, Algorand is consisting of a highly regarded technical team, experienced business leadership, and a strong ecosystem. This gives Algorand a competitive edge in bridging a traditional business into blockchain. And here you may ask, okay, so how competitive? Can you share like more details? Yeah, sure you can. Yeah. And when we come across a blockchain project, actually technology is the first thing we'll be looking at, as it lays the foundation for everything. So Algorand uses a pure proof of stake, also known as PPOS protocol. So compared to the prior approaches like proof of work or bonded proof of stake or delegated proof of stake, PPOS has ensured full participation and protection and speed within a truly decentralized network. And with the blocks finalized in seconds, Algorand's transaction through output is on par with large payment and financial networks. And Algorand is actually the first blockchain to provide immediate transaction finality with no forking. Next slide, please. And on the other hand, Algorand has this layer 1 capability, which enables applications at global and enterprise level with speed, reliability, and usability to solve real-world problems. And it is the only layer 1 with zero downtime since its launch in 2019. Next slide, please. Also, Algorand smart contracts act as a trusted, seamless solution with proven performance. It is not only faster, scalable, and cost-effective, but also functionally advanced to enable complex and sophisticated applications. Algorand smart contracts are trustless programs that execute on-chain, where users can be confident that the programs was executed without error and the results were not tampered with. And they are integrated into Algorand's layer 1, inheriting the same powerful speed, scale, finality, and security as the Algorand platform itself, and they're error-free. Next slide, please. So Algorand smart contracts are further strengthened by Algorand's virtual machine, also known as AVM. You may heard of it, before around like EVM, which is Ethereum virtual machine, so the name is quite similar. An AVM that interprets TIL programs comprised of like a set of operational codes used to implement the logic of smart contracts and smart signatures. So AVM is building a simple and more powerful smart contracts by providing a complete and advanced feature set that is enable a seamless creation and execution of transactions within a single powerful smart contract. Our AVM is improving smart contract development and is ensuring developers have the functionality needed to create powerful apps and making blockchain application development more accessible to a wider developed community. Next slide, please. Yeah, and with the above advantage mentioned of our technology, Algorand is also known as one of the greenest blockchain out there. So our network is now carbon negative through its minimum emission and proactive carbon offset approach. Sustainability has always been rooted in our PPOS protocol, and we have been partnering with eco-friendly organizations like Planet Watch and Climate Trade to offset any emission gaps. And we have been committing to continuously improving PPOS performance over time without sacrificing decentralization, so as to maintain a sustainable example in the industry. And one thing to mention, so starting from this year, we have been holding AVM roadshows as well as greenhouse hacks across the world. And the next station this September, our AVM roadshow will come to Singapore. And I highly encourage like developers and project engineers to come and participate in that event. Next slide, please. Well, we see great technology fosters prosperous ecosystem, and there have been over 1,000 companies building on Algorand since our mainnet launch in 2019. Next slide, please. So our use cases have covering like various different sectors. Next slide, please. Such as payment, environment, NFTs, gaming, real estate, asset management, and financial services, etc. I know like the picture here is a little blurring. You can hardly see like what are those projects, but it's okay. Let's go over some representative sectors in the use cases, shall we? Next slide, please. So first, payment sector. So Algorand was designed with current and future needs in mind, based on an innovative, frictionless design that enables the blockchain to process digital payments nearly instantly. So this has made it a popular choice for a variety of digital payments use cases. And we can ensure robust security, rapid transaction speed, and low costs. The simple and cost-effective payment infrastructure has opened the doors of opportunity for online immersive payments, microtransactions, digital asset transactions, and more. So for example, we can see here, BNext is the first Spanish neobank that challenges the traditional banking system, and it has cooperated with Algorand to revolutionize the remittance market in Europe and Latin. So under the collaboration, BNext will take advantage of Algorand's high-performing and cost-effective blockchain infrastructure to make transactions convenient and accessible, even compared to the other fintech services. And this year in May, BNext just received additional $4.5 million investment led by our VC, Borderless Capital, and they will be driving DeFi on Algorand. I'm really looking forward to more amazing progress from them. Next slide, please. So the second checkout that cover as we speak of is DeFi. And DeFi isn't any like a new concept to us anymore. Now industry is working to drive DeFi into mainstream adoption and become an alternative for real world use cases. So to achieve that, it has to solve for high execution cost, scalability, speed, and security. Otherwise, DeFi will not reach its potential in transforming economic systems. And Algorand has provided the required decentralization, scalability, and security with a fundamental network, and that has been built in transactional speed and low fees to power for a new wave of DeFi for the future of finance. The three projects listed here are just part of our DeFi, whole map. And Algorand has been growing our DeFi ecosystem, and currently we ranked 20 on DeFi for TVL. We are still going up. Next slide, please. Here comes my favorite one, NFTs. It's a very popular and well-received track. As you know, NFT can be representative of physical items such as real estate or luxury cars that can be tokenized, or digital items including art, trading cards, music, books, and videos. So it's allowing content creators to actually own the property rights for what they create, which allow them to profit from it in different ways, which they can do with physical art. So Algorand has been focusing on building technology that accelerates the convergence of decentralized and more traditional models. Key factors that distinguish Algorand from other blockchains are the creation of NFTs on our chain is very easy. So all NFTs will be live like on a forkless blockchain, and there will be very low transaction fees, and data can be really fast and secure. So developers can easily issue NFTs through our Algorand standard assets, ASA, which is a functionality that enables the issuance of a new digital asset straight in our layer 1 blockchain. And ASA can also be created in smart contracts with more advanced capability. Take SIAE here as an example. So it's an Italian society of authors and publishers. It has over, I think, 140-year history. And this project is leveraging Algorand for the development of a new open ecosystem for copyright management. It has launched over 4 million NFTs to represent the rights of nearly 100,000 creators and protect authors' rights end to end. I think that's what they envision as the future of the industry with the blockchain technology. Next slide, please. Last but not least, I'd like to touch briefly upon those national initiatives on Algorand. So national projects require neutrality, which Algorand has achieved through a cryptographic, secure, decentralized network. So they must be scalable or able to facilitate the transaction of a massive country-size user base, or they have to be transparent and immutable, ensuring the user can see and have visibility on their own. So Algorand, through our unique consensus mechanism, as I mentioned before, and our open source network and high transaction processing capability, we have over this like essential elements, and we are offering more. And we are quickly becoming the infrastructure of choice for national initiatives on blockchain, including the government blockchain infrastructure with Salvador and the efficient healthcare payment system with Bermuda. I think Søren has mentioned the healthcare in his previous presentation, and there are more. So the SIAE copyright project I mentioned before is also falls into this national initiative category. Next slide, please. Well, okay, so all the above use cases are just a tip of an iceberg when it comes to leverage blockchain technology for better future. And there are massive potential to be unleashed, and we are in this together. You know, every one of you, Algorand, and our partners in our community, me and you. Next slide, please. And we would like to actually invite every of you to join this journey with Algorand. Please find here the website links, which you can take a screenshot. Yeah, and where you can find more information. Next slide, please. And if you are interested in building on Algorand, please feel free to reach out through the vertical emails. We are here to support, to fund you, and to innovate. Yeah, next slide, please. Oh, okay, and that marks the end of my session. Thank you. Back to you, Søren.
Thanks a lot, Sama. That was very insightful of what Algorand are doing in this place. So for everyone else as well, so Algorand is actually doing quite a bit in the finance FI space. So please go and have a look at that and read more about it. Algorand have a really good community, and we have a community in Sri Lanka as well, as SynergyX is one of the main community leads for Algorand in Sri Lanka. We have a Telegram channel where we actually post a lot of Algorand bounties, where there have been winners from Sri Lanka who have got 200, 300 Algorands as prizes. So we had prizes for NFT creations, we had prizes for articles written. So if blockchain is something that's interesting to you, you would like to learn more about it and be involved in the space, please get in touch with us, and we will share with you the Algorand Telegram channel link as well, and other communities that we have. Summer, maybe if you can just put the Algorand Telegram channel link in the chat, people can join that. Okay, so
Yeah.
as I mentioned, thanks, Summer. As I mentioned, these are some quick tips on how to actually be involved. So as I mentioned, our company is on LinkedIn. You can follow us. You can, if you're someone who uses Instagram and Discord more, you can try that. And just as we touch base, we have a Telegram channel as well. And another good option is going to blockchain meetups and Eventbrite blockchain sessions. There are many that are held in Colombo in Sri Lanka as well. So try and attend those if you want to get started. There are some really bright minds. We had a session about 2 weeks back where we had founders from Sri Lanka talk about blockchain entrepreneurship. So you can also reach out to them. If you are on that session, you would know that. And we have those slides available on the Discord channel. So if you missed that session, go into the Discord channel and you can get a copy of those slides. We have close to, I think, as per the latest count, about 800 plus the blockchain articles, slides, news, videos, and all sorts of information around blockchain and the various domains, whether it's decentralized finance, NFTs, metaverse, everything. As much as we can, we have been sharing it on the Discord channel. So we have a nice community that wants to share this information with others. And as I told you at the start, you are among the 1% or even less than that when it comes to learning about or knowing about this emerging technology. 10 years from now, you might look back and say, on a Thursday evening, I remember I was in 2022, I sat in this webinar where I spoke about this technology blockchain, and today see, this is controlling most of what we do. So just like how you could say that in 2008, you came across something called Bitcoin, right? So these are all opportunities. Get into it, learn emerging tech, learn to upskill. And these are some ideas that I would give you. These courses online are really worth it. A lot of these are free, so you don't have to spend a single rupee to get knowledge. You can upskill on this. So please go into these sites, register for free. YouTube itself is has a lot of different courses on blockchain. There are so many brilliant minds in this space that are doing a lot of free stuff online. They are doing webinars, they are doing training materials for free. They are doing 4-week courses completely free, very technical as well as functional. So make use of all of that, connect with all of them on LinkedIn. If you're not too sure who to connect with or where to get started, you can always reach out to me or reach out to Summer and we will help guide you. But if you want a little bit of entertainment to learn blockchain, then I would suggest go and check out these documentaries or these movies. They are also a nice way to get into what blockchain is. So I like to consume through video and through listening. So this is something that I used initially just to get my head around it. And yeah, go into this. These are all available on Netflix or even just on the web itself. These documentaries should be available somewhere. And then you would have probably heard about the billionaires who are actually getting into this space. So you know that this is a serious business now. A lot of people putting in a lot of money into blockchain, everyone looking to do something in it. You saw Facebook change their name to Meta. Metaverse is basically the next big thing that they are talking about. They're investing quite a bit in it, and that's also powered in effect by blockchain. You saw Square, a company, change their name to Block, simply because they believe so much in that technology as well, and they want to do something in that space. Microsoft has a lot going on in that space as well, and then Google has invested quite a lot. So there are a lot of big companies doing a lot of interesting stuff in this place. And if you want to know more, connect on Discord. So these are some of the billionaires. Elon Musk, of course, richest man in the world. He is very a crypto enthusiast. You have Mark Cuban, who invested in Polygon, which is a blockchain that was done by two, I think, engineering students in India. And today that blockchain is worth billions and billions of dollars, and there's so much of work going on in that place. So read about Polygon founders, and you will know they were working in manufacturing sites, and then went on to develop what is now one of the world's leading blockchain solutions. You have Kathy Wood, who's actually an investor, and she has her own funds, and they invest quite a lot in emerging technology. And she is pro blockchain. She really likes the technology, and most people do. They understand what it has. And we have Chamath Paliapitiya as well. So he is a very famous investor. He resides in US. He believes in new technology, emerging technology, and I really like listening to his interviews. He talks about upskilling. He talks about how to go about investing as well, but he also talks about new industries. And he has visited Sri Lanka many times as well, so he has his own thoughts on that as well. So check people out like this. You don't have to know a person personally to be able to benefit from them. There's enough and more information online, and if you just listen to those videos itself, it will do a world of wonders. And then you have Jack Dorsey as well, who's the CEO of Block, as I was talking. So now it's up to your decision what you want to do with this. So we have spoken about blockchain. We have told you how much it can help to make a better world tomorrow. So it's your decision if you want to get into it, start learning it, and maybe in 10 years time really reap the rewards, understand what it is, and be able to work from anywhere, because right now it's very, very hard to get really good blockchain developers. So if you're keen on doing something in this place, you can get on it, you can learn it by yourselves, and maybe in 2-3 years, you could be a blockchain expert either in Algorand or any other blockchain that you really are keen to work on. But I would say get started, because today they are not looking for anybody to be in the office to do this particular projects. As long as you have the internet, you are one of the employees, you can work from anywhere and you can get stuff done. So look at this as an opportunity. So either you ride the wave or you could get swept along, but it's happening and it's coming your way. So that brings us to the end of the session, but it's just the beginning. So I want to not say the end because we're just getting started. Thank you, everyone. You can scan that QR code to get into our Discord channel. We'll open it up for questions. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask, or if you have anything, you can put it in the chat as well.
So you all can unmute the mic and ask your questions. It's open for the questionnaire. I have a question now. I'm new to the blockchain. Now it's a warm concept, I believe, Ledger, write once and read many. So within few months, we will end up with a petabyte of data. So how the blockchain stores those data and how it's going to retrieve? I mean, it has to retrieve at once, maybe it's very infrequently. So how does it manage that? And also, how do I ensure that my data is not read by others if I have a personal data? So that shouldn't be read by others. And how does it mean implemented in the blockchain? And my final question is, can you give us any example that any government in any of the countries the government has implemented for e-identity?
Yeah, I can help you answer those. So yes. For the first one, where to store the data, right now, any information that is available, it is stored on the blockchain, and the blockchain itself is actually stored on all the different machines that have downloaded the node, right? Because that is where it resides. And in the blockchain itself, there is a concept where it's called IPFS, where you can store information that is additional to the data that's sitting on the blockchain in a separate place, and that is called IPFS. So that is where the data is stored, right? And like you mentioned, over time the data does grow, and that is something that we all need to take into consideration. But what is actually stored is the heavy lifting is stored in solutions like IPFS and so on. But the hash and the information that this transaction did occur is what sits on the blockchain, right? So that is the first bit. Yeah, I would suggest that you read. You can read more about this online as well. Or if we do need anything else, I can put you in touch with a technical architect who can give you more details on the technical details beyond how it's stored, right? So that's just the basic idea of where it's stored. The second question that you asked was in terms of, was it the private identity or there was something else in between there?
Yes. How do I ensure that my personal
Yes,
information are
correct.
not read by others?
Yes. So how it works in the blockchain is every time you put something on the blockchain, you have two things. One is a public key and a private key. So with the private key, that is where you control that that information only belongs to you, and only with that private key will you be able to open up that information for anybody else, right? So if it's a secure information that you have done and you want to store it with yourself, any information on the blockchain, it's not like everything that you do is completely open. There are ways in which you can control it, and that option is where you can have like a private blockchain, or you can have a private key that controls what it is, right? So everyone will know what your public key is. It is a good example of this was given by a professor when he mentioned that, let's say you have a post box. Everyone know that that post box is in front of your house, so therefore that is where they need to drop the letters. They will drop the letters in the post box, but in order for you to access the post box, on the other side you have put a lock, and only you have the key to that lock. So everyone knows that they can give you information into that post box, but only you have the private key to open it up and check out what information is there, right? So that is how data is controlled on the blockchain with the use of private keys, right? And the third one, in terms of governments using identity, I can't quite give you an example of which government is using, but what we have read online and what I've seen discussed in forums is that there are some Middle Eastern countries that are actually looking to explore this in more detail. One example that was thrown about sometime back in 2021 was Smart Dubai, where they were talking about private identities and ID management, all maintained by the government. So that is something that you can look at. And in terms of identity, I do understand that India are doing something in that space as well, in the identity domain. And I saw some articles based on that in certain parts in India where they're actually trialing this identity and where it's actually on the blockchain. So it's very interesting to see that India is actually going forward with some of those things. So they did one of the biggest projects in the world, right, with Aadhaar card. So in addition to that, they are doing a lot of stuff in blockchain as well. So yeah, so that's the answer for that. If you need anything else, you can contact us directly. We'll be happy to help.
Thank you, Suren. Now, Aadhaar card also very popular. I think it was an open source project, as I remember. So it's even our Sri Lanka also have some link with that, I believe. So any other question? So we have 1 minute to go. So you all can unmute your mic and ask your question.
We have also shared some links on the chat. So if you all are very keen, you can also check those links. That'll open up to other articles and other newsletters that you can subscribe to, which will give you more information around blockchain and the technology.
So this, Suren, now this blockchain processing are done in a certain computer like cloud, or you can implement it in the cloud, like you have need a main processing power, no? So that
Correct,
can be implemented in a cloud or any dedicated server, but that is distributed, the processing is distributed across the any user that log in through their computer, that will be also utilized, isn't it?
Yeah, there are blockchain solutions that do that as well. But in terms of the cloud, what has happened over a period is they are called hyperscalers. So you have Amazon, Google, Alibaba, all of them have cloud solutions or instances with which you can connect, and then they connect to the blockchain of choice, whether it's Ethereum or the Bitcoin blockchain or anything else, they can connect to it. That is how the processing is done. So the heavy lifting is actually done to an extent in the cloud platforms that you choose to.
Okay. We don't need to start from the scratch. It's the platform is already there.
Correct. unless you're mining. So, you know, those mining farms, like in certain countries, they have these huge mining farms. So they are people who actually process algorithms to calculate those and solve those particular math problems in order to mine Bitcoin and mine various other cryptocurrencies. If you're doing something like that, then you need a really strong GPU and a really strong machine, basically, to be able to process so many different math algorithms so that you can be the first to solve those problems and get your cryptocurrency as a reward. That is what mining is called.
Yeah. Now, basically, I want to ensure that the uptime, now cloud operators, they provide the uptime of 4 nines generally. So how do we ensure the uptime? That was my base question, in fact.
The uptime, I believe, is because it's multiple nodes, there is always going to be an uptime because everyone have a version of it, and it is always someone who has decided to be a node for that particular blockchain will have their machine on, right? And together, that is how the blockchain's uptime is always maintained.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So time is
Is blockchain protected by GDPR, General Data Protection Act?
Yeah, this is the one that's in Europe, right? Where they actually request that if a user wants to, they can remove or put in a request to remove the user credentials, right? So blockchain is a decentralized ledger, right? And my guess is this is only a guess. I can't quite answer exactly what it is, but my guess is once it's on the blockchain, the record is there, so there is really no way to delete it. So the answer to that would be no.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you share your contact if anything to ask, if possible?
Sure. You can scan the QR code online. That's sorry, the QR code on the screen. That will take you to the Discord channel. And if you wanted to connect, you can always connect with it at SynergyX on LinkedIn. And Ashin, the CEO of SynergyX, has actually put that on the chat as well. So you can actually click on that and connect to our LinkedIn page.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. So Engineer Jahid, I think we are pretty much done, right?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Engineer Achini, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to present here to express my vote of thanks. Firstly, on behalf of IT and Computer Engineering Sectional Committee, we wish to express our sincere gratitude to ISL President, Secretary, and staff. Our special thanks to Mrs. Surendra Suryakumar and Ms. Summer, who has given their precious time to conduct this event. And we are thankful to them for sharing their immense knowledge on blockchain with our engineering community. Also, I'll take this opportunity to thank our organizing team of IT and Computer Engineering Sectional Committee for helping us to arrange this public lecture. We are organizing this kind of events to uplift IESL in all aspects. Finally, I extend my big thanks to all the participants who made this event successful. Thank you, everyone. Have a pleasant day and stay safe.